If you've been online in Nigeria recently, you've probably seen the phrase city boy everywhere, in conversations, on social media, even in street debates. But beyond the slogans and the hype, a deeper question is starting to come up. Why do millions of Nigerians still believe in Bola Tinubu despite the growing economic pressure many people are facing? Because whether you support him or not, one thing is clear. This is no longer just politics. It's a movement, a mindset, and for many, a statement of identity. Now, let's break it down in a way that actually makes sense. Before we go deeper, if you appreciate clear, honest breakdowns like this, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been trying to understand what's really going on. And I genuinely like to hear your thoughts too, so drop a comment as we go along. So, what exactly is the city boy movement? The phrase city boy became widely popular during the 2023 presidential campaign, strongly associated with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It was originally used to project confidence, influence, and political experience, especially highlighting his long-standing role in shaping Lagos State's development and his connections within Nigeria's political structure. For supporters, city boy represents someone who understands power, who knows how to navigate complex systems, and who can get things done. It's less about the literal meaning of the words and more about what they symbolize: strategic thinking, resilience, and control. But here's where things get interesting. Even as Nigeria faces rising inflation, subsidy removal effects, currency fluctuations, and general economic hardship, a significant number of Nigerians still stand firmly behind Tinubu. And for many observers, this raises a very important question. Why? To understand this, you have to look beyond just current conditions and start looking at perception, history, and expectations. First, there's the belief in long-term strategy. Some supporters argue that the current economic challenges are part of difficult but necessary reforms. The removal of fuel subsidies, for example, was something previous administrations hesitated to fully implement. According to this perspective, the pain Nigerians are feeling now is seen as a temporary phase, a sacrifice for future stability. Whether that belief is right or wrong is still being debated, but it's one of the strongest reasons people continue to hold on. Then there's the Lagos factor. Many Nigerians, especially those familiar with Lagos politics, often point to Tinubu's influence in transforming Lagos into one of the most economically active states in the country. Supporters credit him with laying foundations that later administrations built on, from tax systems to infrastructure development. So for them, the logic is simple. If he could do it in Lagos, maybe he can replicate similar success at the national level. Now, critics will argue that Nigeria is far more complex than Lagos, and that's a fair point. But belief doesn't always come from perfect logic. Sometimes it comes from past impressions and trust built over time. Another key factor is political loyalty and identity. In Nigeria, politics is not always just about policies. It's often deeply tied to regional, cultural, and party affiliations. The city boy movement has, in many ways, become more than support for a leader. It's become a shared identity among supporters. For some, supporting Tinubu is about consistency. For others, it's about defending a choice they made during the election. And for many, it's about resisting opposing narratives. There's also the role of communication and messaging. The phrase city boy itself is powerful because it's simple, memorable, and emotionally charged. It creates a sense of belonging. And in today's digital world, where narratives spread quickly, that kind of branding can shape public perception in a big way. Social media has played a huge role here. Across platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, you'll find content ranging from strong support to sharp criticism. But what stands out is how organized and consistent some of the messaging is. Supporters amplify achievements, defend policies, and counter criticisms, often in real time. And that creates momentum. But let's pause for a second and look at the other side. There are many Nigerians who are struggling right now. People dealing with high cost of living, rising transport fares, and general economic uncertainty. For them, the city boy movement can feel disconnected from reality. Some critics argue that belief alone isn't enough, that leadership should be judged by immediate impact as well as long-term plans. And honestly, that's a valid concern. So this is where the conversation becomes more balanced. Because on one hand, you have people saying, give it time, and on the other hand, you have people saying, we can't keep waiting. And both perspectives are rooted in real experiences. Another layer to this is expectation management. During campaigns, expectations are often very high. People hope for quick improvements, visible changes, and immediate relief. But governance, especially at the national level, doesn't always move that fast. So what we're seeing right now is a gap between expectation and reality. Supporters tend to focus on where things are going, critics tend to focus on where things are now, and that gap is where most of the tension lives. There's also the issue of trust in leadership. For many Nigerians who support Tinubu, their belief is tied to a sense of political experience. They see him as someone who understands the system deeply, someone who has been in the game long enough to navigate its complexities. But again, others question whether experience alone is enough, especially when everyday challenges are increasing. So this isn't a simple right or wrong situation. It's a layered conversation involving history, perception, identity, and lived experience. And that's why the City Boy movement continues to grow even in the middle of economic challenges. Because for supporters, it represents hope, strategy, and continuity. While for critics, it raises questions about accountability, performance, and priorities. Now, here's something important to keep in mind. Movements like this don't exist in isolation. They evolve over time. Public opinion shifts, policies take effect, results begin to show or don't. So what we're seeing right now is not the final chapter. It's just a moment in an ongoing story. And the direction of that story will depend on real outcomes, things like economic stability, job creation, infrastructure development, and overall quality of life. Because at the end of the day, belief can start a movement, but results are what sustain it. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about understanding what's really going on. So take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs clarity on this topic, and subscribe for more honest breakdowns like this. And I really want to hear from you. Do you think the belief in the City Boy movement is justified, or do you think Nigerians are expecting too much patience? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because conversations like this matter. They help us stay informed, stay balanced, and most importantly, stay aware of the bigger picture. Now, as things continue to unfold, one thing is certain. Nigerians are watching closely. And whatever happens next will shape not just opinions, but the future direction of the country itself.